Welcome to Swizzy Floristry. In this video you will learn how to do a wildflower bouquet using a spiral stem technique. I have a selection of wildflowers here, both Australian native and South African species, and what I've done is prepared all the stems by cleaning all the foliage off the base of the stems. This is very important when we do a hand-tied bouquet because below the waterline and below where we hold the flowers needs to be clean of all fine leaves to ensure that the water stays as fresh as possible and the binding point is also as small as possible where we hold the bouquet. We're going to do a spiral technique, and in this technique each stem is laid next to the one before it in a consistent pattern to form a spiral or haystack effect. So every stem of material that I'm going to put in, including the greeneries, are going to lie against the stem before it, and then I'm going to build up a spiral effect. This will ensure that the point that I'm holding the stems is the narrowest possible, and the top of the stems will open out, as will the base of the stems, meaning that all the materials will get an equal amount of water and the stems won't be crossed or crushed against each other. To turn your bouquet, release your grip, hold it between your thumb and first finger quite lightly, place the material in, turn the bouquet by changing hands, and then again grip back lightly between your thumb and first finger. I'm going to start by making a base of the eucalyptus and the magnolia to start to give me a shape of the bouquet that I'm going to put together. What I'm going to place in are the leucadendron flowers, and what I want to do is, by turning the bouquet a third from each placement, it's going to ensure that all the stems are evenly distributed throughout the bouquet shape. What I'm also going to do is put some of the feature flowers, which are the protea. At this point, when I've started the spiral, I can gently release my hand and place a flower into the top or center of the bouquet, and because the spiral's already created, that stem will follow the lines of the spiral. Then I'm going to do the same technique and place the remaining protea in between the leucadendrons that are already in the bouquet to achieve a symmetry of distribution, so all the flowers are evenly distributed. What I'm going to do as well is, when I start to add some of the flowers like the erica, I'm going to bring the stem of the flower down slightly so I get that nice rounded effect on the bouquet. We don't want to form a top to the bouquet. We want it to be a lovely dome of flowers, so we grade the placements of the flowers down in our hands at the side, also placing the material on a 45-degree angle as we place it into the bouquet, and that way we will see the tip or the heads of the flowers and the materials that we're using throughout our bouquet. You can adjust your material as you go along by keeping that nice gentle grip onto the material that you're placing in. I'm going to place a little bit of the transitional material now, the tea tree, and again I'm lowering that placement slightly to make sure that I'm keeping my rounded form, and turning my bouquet as I place the material in, but keeping all the stems going in the spiral motion so that no stem is crossed over from another one, and it will give me this beautiful opened feel to the bouquet that I'm creating. If we want to add any of the transitional material into the top of the bouquet, again we can do this by releasing our grip, and this transitional material will also follow the line of the spiral that has been created. You'll notice again, which is a very important part of the preparation of this particular design, that all the stems have been cleaned of any foliage, including the transitional materials, so I can easily hold these large stemmed flowers in my hand. I also have some helichrysals which will add a lovely effect to the bouquet when they start to open, and these particular flowers I'm going to place a couple of stems together and place them into the bouquet so that they become a feature. If we're using smaller flowers like the everlasting daisies in comparison to the larger proteas, we need to place a few more stems together to give them enough weight so that they're seen in the bouquet and they don't become too scattered and lost within our design. I'm now going to place some more of the leucadendrons, again grading them down slightly and putting them on that 45-degree angle as I place them into the bouquet, so that when the customer puts this into a vase, they're going to get a lovely profile on the side of the bouquet, as well as a view from the top of the bouquet of the flowers. If you have small hands or you have trouble holding a volume of flowers like this, you can tie off from time to time before you add some more material. But what you need to do is make sure that your binding point is up above your thumb where you're turning the bouquet, and that also your binding points are all aligned and they're not lower and lower as you come down or retie the bouquet more than once to hold the material. Now I'm coming down even lower with my material, so I'm coming right down over the side of the bouquet, still turning it as I go to ensure that the material is evenly distributed amongst this rounded bouquet, and that we get a little bit of the colour all the way around how we're placing. I have a few more of the helichrysals that I can put down at the side of the bouquet as well. So now we're really starting to create a nice rounded form with our bouquet. Then I'm going to use some of the After Dark, which is a beautiful foliage which has a nice soft flow to it, which is a great thing to put around the edge of our bouquet, because we want to show this beautiful pendulous form of the greenery. So we're going to place it in the edge of the bouquet where it will hang over the edge of the container when the customer puts this wildflower spiral bouquet into a vase at home, and will help make the vase and the bouquet become one design, and it will nicely flow over the edge. You can see that I've also stripped this of all its lower leaves so that when I go to put it into the bouquet, it's already the right length to go over the hand and add a nice finish to the bouquet. What I'm just going to finish this particular bouquet off with is a little bit of the silver eucalyptus. These are slightly shorter pieces that I've taken from the side shoots of the bouquet, of the market bunch of greenery. Again, I'm making sure that they follow the spiral, and I'm putting these under the After Dark, just to give a little bit of a silver base or a frill of silver around the edge of the bouquet, just to ensure that all the stems are hidden, that everything's nicely rounded in our bouquet. If you need to adjust anything slightly, now's the time to do it. What I'm going to tie off with is a little bit of China cord, because it's very soft on the stems, and because it's a rounded cord, it doesn't cut into the flower stems. I leave a little bit of the cord out, and then going up over my thumb where I've created all the tension in the bouquet, I can tie around. What I'm very careful to do is not to capture any leaves or stems within the binding point. So we want that binding point to be nice and clean, and not to capture anything within it. And also go around quite a few times with your tying material, especially in this wildflower bouquet, because it's quite a heavy stemmed bouquet with some woody type stems in it. And you'll feel, once you've gone over a few times around the bouquet, that the tension is retained in the bouquet, and that it becomes a lot lighter also to hold. What we need to make sure of now, even with our wildflowers, is to rest them gently onto our work surface, so we can tie a knot into the binding point, and just to ensure that everything is nicely contained within the spiral. We cut off any excess of the binding now. We can see that there's no leaves or anything captured in the binding point. What we will now do next, now we've created our lovely rounded spiraled wildflower bouquet, is wrap the bouquet. I've now cut my stems approximately 1/3 and the bouquet is 2/3. We do, however, leave a little bit of extra stem on the base of the bouquet, because we always instruct the customer to trim the stems off. What you can see with the spiral is that we have a balance within the bouquet, so the bouquet is nicely rounded. And now what we're going to do is to wrap the bouquet. So I have some non-woven paper and some cellophane paper here that I have folded, and I'm going to place that around the bouquet to enhance the flowers, to also protect the flowers as well. So it's going to protect the flowers during transport. It's also going to enhance the colour and the shape of the flower. What I'm going to do is gently put the paper around the bouquet. And what we don't want to do when we've made a beautiful bouquet such as this is to have lots of sticky tape and adhesives onto the base. So what I can actually do is tie it with a little bit of the cording again down on the base of the paper. And what we call this particular thing is top wrapping. So often in the florist shop we will wrap the top of the bouquet to enhance its value, to make it look a little bit more retail value, and to protect the flowers. And then once the customer decides that they want to purchase the flowers, this would sit into a vase. Then we would wrap the base of the flowers. To wrap the base of the flowers, we need to ensure that the cellophane paper is on the inside to protect and be a waterproof source. So what I'm going to do is to have some tissue paper to put on the base of the flowers, and then I can wrap the base of the flowers up and pour some water into the top of the container which will act as a container for the flowers. So I've got some wet tissue paper here. What I'm going to do is make sure that this covers all the stems of the native wildflowers, the wildflower bouquet. I'm going to bring the paper up and ruche it around so that that is actually going to form a vase, so that the customer, we can pour some water down the top of the bouquet to fill that vase, or the customer can unwrap the wrapping paper from the base of the bouquet. And then what we're going to do is put a nice figure 8 bow onto it that's been tied with a little bit of the matching China cord, and we're going to tie that into the China cord that I've placed around the paper, just knotting the ends of the cord to make sure that the cord falls beautifully. And this is how we present and finish our spiral stem wildflower bouquet.